Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining our weekly update to the community on the hunger fight during the coronavirus. Please note, everyone except our three speakers will be muted during the meeting. If you're connected on your computer, you'll see a chat icon at the bottom of the right screen. Please click that icon to enter your question. If you're joining us by phone, please email your question to ecooper@2harvest.org. We'll answer questions in a few minutes after brief updates from our presenters. Thanks again for coming. Allison O'Toole will kick us off.
Thanks, Elizabeth, and good morning, everyone. Allison O'Toole here, reporting out from our round-the-clock efforts to keep hunger in check during this virus outbreak. I am proud to be the CEO of Second Harvest Heartland and to work alongside two greats in the Hunger Relief Network, Cathy Maes and Shawn Morrison, who are joining me this morning. Cathy, as many know, is the Executive Director of Loaves and Fishes Minnesota, and Shawn Morrison is the Executive Director of Good in the Hood. We'll hear from them in a couple of minutes. I've come to you for several weeks now with a simple message that hunger is growing and swift action is needed. The food shelves we serve tell us the demand they're seeing is growing exponentially. As the coronavirus crisis has deepened and spread, we've come to realize with stark clarity how much hunger we'll soon face. The already unacceptable number of 1 in 11 people living with hunger has climbed since the outbreak began. Only if we stay in high gear and the community keeps delivering incredible levels of support, will we be able to keep ahead of the need and keep up with it. And to avoid the dire situation we're seeing around the country, to avoid that here means that everyone needs to do their part to stock our food banks and food shelves well before we begin to see the peak of the COVID-19. Further complicating our efforts to keep hunger at bay is the fact that cuts to food stamps were well underway before the crisis began. The need for this support, called SNAP, has skyrocketed. In fact, the number of people coming to Second Harvest Heartland asking for help with food stamps doubled in March. We hear that people are steadily losing hours at work or losing jobs entirely. And they're carrying the worry of their financial and physical health and wondering where their next meal will come from and how they'll provide for their kids. We cannot ask people to fight this virus hungry. I'll give you a few statistics now. We'll let that come up on the screen here. Last week, we delivered over 10,000 emergency food boxes to food shelves, offering them a quick infusion of food that minimizes face-to-face contact and offer more meals per visit. In total, we've delivered more than 25,000 emergency boxes since the outbreak began. And additionally, we held traveling farmers markets to ensure fresh produce makes it into our neighbors' cupboards despite the virus. In total, we delivered 1.7 million pounds of food last week. Our entire response effort, from sourcing food in these tough times to packing and distributing much more of it, is expensive. Please do what you can to help us keep ahead of hunger as best we can so we can keep ahead of COVID-19. And now I'd like us to hear from a friend and close partner who's out there every day getting this hard work done. Shawn with Good in the Hood is going to tell us how things are changing in his work as the virus hits his community.
Thank you, Allison, and good to be with you, and just grateful for all you're doing. You know, there's been a lot of changes, but the first one that really came to the forefront was we noticed there was a lot more inquiries and calls. For us, that's gone up by 3 times. And so trying to respond to that, we really needed the help of the food banks to be able to do that, to be able to really meet the needs of the community. We, as you said, a lot more unemployed or underemployed. And then you've got children at home now that used to get, meal assistance programs. And so now the parents who are maybe having a harder time making ends meet have an additional burden to try to provide more meals for their kids. The elderly, those who are infirmed. they're more at risk and they're more vulnerable. So getting out to get groceries is more difficult. Transportation systems might be down, so they can't really gain access. So in essence, they're stuck with very few options. So we're trying to respond to that. And then I think, there's maybe a whole demographic of new clients, what we might call unique guests, who have never participated in the food, say food shelf world before. They don't know the systems or the rules of the road. So we need to not only provide, but we need to help them to navigate that type of situation where they can get access to food to meet the needs of their family.
Good. Thanks, Shawn.
Well, Shawn, that's really interesting. Our phone is ringing off the hook as well. And you're right. They're just people that don't even know where to turn. They actually could have been volunteers. They might have been donors. And this is the first time that they're trying to navigate through the system of food shelves and meal programs. And that's, it's kind of joyful, right, Allison? At one point, we're meeting the need, and at the other end, it's tough. It's a tough job, and we are working 24 hours a day, it feels like. I want to give some perspective for our meal program. I started in 2013 here, and we were serving about 300,000 meals a year. We are slated now to serve 1.6 million meals in 2020. And we're on pace. I think we'll outpace that. Since this all started, we're around 3,500 meals a day. We're now topping out at 10,000 meals a day. We had a victory last week. I got a phone call on Friday, 2 Fridays ago at noon from the YMCA. By 2:30, we were on a Zoom call. By 5 o'clock, we had made a deal that we would help the YMCA with meals. And I said, we need to do it well, so we're going to start with a pilot. And we did. We only piloted 3 locations, open to the public locations. And we worked through what food safety looked like and made certain that we were delivering food in the window of time that's appropriate. And it was really successful. So on last Thursday, we said, let's open up to 18 locations. Yesterday, we launched the 18 locations, bringing our site count to 55, where it was around 37. So that was a huge victory and a challenge all at the same time. There was a lovely woman who came in to get her meals yesterday. I was at the YMCA in St. Paul for a couple of hours. And she came in and she was just like a deer in headlights. And she took the food and she said, "Are you sure I can take this much food?" And I said, "Yes, you certainly can." She walked out the door and came back and she said, "My sister has 3 children and they have no food in their refrigerator. Could I take food for her?" And the YMCA was like, yes, you can. Please take more food. And I just know that it was a barrier of pride and then thoughtfulness for her sister. And so I found that to be really poignant. Now, Elizabeth, you always ask, how can people help? And continue to donate. And we do still have volunteer opportunities. And then I would say just love us on social media too. That all really helps. It helps spread the word. It helps really bring gravity to our work. And I want to say too that we could not do this work, the 10,000 meals, without the Minnesota Central Kitchen. And that really will inform our work moving forward, that Loaves and Fishes needs a kitchen much like that, because we bring excellent food. It expedites the food getting to the locations, and it utilizes the food in the system that otherwise would be thrown away. So it's a lovely model that Allison and our organization and a bunch of chefs have been tooling and retooling and thinking about how that really, truly will make a difference in the future. So all I have, if we have questions, is that where you want me to go, Elizabeth, with this?
Yes, thanks so much, Cathy. So we are ready to go with the graphics that capture our response so far. So maybe we can put that on the screen while we collect your questions. All right, so while the tech team gets that ready to go, I will dive into questions here. First, we have one from Tracy in New Richmond. She's wondering, can I get food stamps too? I've read that there are new restrictions on that help. I've never worried about food, and now I have no idea how we're going to make it. I feel like I need all the help that's out there. So,
Yeah.
Allison, I don't know if you want to tackle that one, emergency food support and SNAP.
Yeah, so I'm happy to, Elizabeth. And then if there are other more specific issues, Teresa can dive into. But Tracy, thank you for reaching out. We stand with you in this crisis, and we're here to help. So if you go on toharvest.org, you can find information about the SNAP program, that's formerly the food stamp program. We are so honored to help you and your family get the assistance you need right now to help you through this crisis. So that's www.toharvest.org, and it's the number 2. Also, you can go to your local food shelf to get an emergency food supply. Now, Elizabeth, I think the easiest way for folks to do that is to go to the Hunger Solutions website, and maybe we can post that in the comments as well. And we'll post our website there too, Tracy. So you have 2 clicks. Come to us for SNAP assistance. And if you go to the Hunger Solutions website, you will find your local food shelf and contact them to get a little help right now. But we stand with you. We are here to help all of us. And thanks for reaching out.
Thanks, Allison. We've got a question from Joe. What is the best way to help, food or money?
Well, Cathy said it, and I'll reiterate it. We're being really direct about this. And I think, Elizabeth, let's put all 3 of our organization websites in the comments right now. Mm-hmm. The most efficient way to help right now is through financial donations, if you're able. We can all stretch $1 like nobody's business. And that is really what's needed right now. I know there's some differing needs for volunteers at Second Harvest Heartland. We are, tapping into our loyal volunteers. They're filling those shifts right now. We can handle so many fewer right now because of the space considerations, because we want to keep everyone safe. But the other thing Cathy said is give us some social media love. I know Elizabeth and our team will put all our Twitter handles and our websites, but also our Facebook links out there and LinkedIn links. Give us some love. Help spread the word of this need. And part of it is just raising awareness about the need and about the situation that we're facing right now. Building that awareness will help too. So great question, Joe. Thank you.
Can I interject too? The cash, of course, not only stretches the dollar further because we can purchase through food banks, and I'm talking groceries, but I know Cathy would agree, even meals. But also we're able to then purchase exactly what the consumer who's coming and participating in our food shelf needs. We can steer it much better. The other thing is kind of an underlying aspect is when we get food donated, we have to make sure it's safe and doesn't have any of the virus on it. And so we have to hold it and quarantine even the food for a season. So really the dollars are the best and most efficient and most effective way to help the food shelves, the food banks, and certainly the meal providers such as Loaves and Fishes.
Oh, great. We've got one more question from Tim. He says, I am having a hard time finding my favorite brands and items at the grocery store. Have you in the hunger relief system experienced the same shortages?
Oh, absolutely. And everyone is having to compromise right now a little bit. And when I go to the store and I can't find my preferred item, whatever it may be, I choose the next best one, and that's okay. And I also think about all the people who don't have that choice to make. And we are experiencing that same thing here, but we are trying to source as best we can. to make sure people have the products they need the most and the nutrition they need.
Absolutely.
My mom and my dad are sequestered in their home, and we're helping with groceries, and my dad said they needed paper towels and they preferred Bounty, and I'm like, okay, no, we will not be finding Bounty for you. But I want to bring back what I said about the commissary kitchen and excellent food. I would say that our quality of food has actually been heightened during this time, and that really truly going back to how that's going to inform our work moving forward. Just because you are poor and you're desperate does not mean that you crave rice and beans. Yesterday, it was a lovely meal that we handed out that was amazing. Barbecue chicken, sauteed carrots, and it looked like they had a glaze on them, and then some potatoes, like JoJo potatoes. So it was really an amazing meal, and the people were so thankful for that. And we want them to have really fresh salads and really fresh fruit, and we hold ourselves to that standard.
Thanks, Cathy. Shawn, anything to add?
You know, I think we're, of course, everything that just was said, but just finding creative recipes right now is going to be a key thing, because there are, I mean, of course, we have limited options at times, but there's a room for creativity. We need people to even submit things such as that, which is just showing an awareness that there is need out there, number one, but also how can we care at a practical level? Certainly donations, volunteerism is challenged and changed. But we can do it differently. We can volunteer through recipes. We can offer professional services and offer virtual help and support. So there's a number of ways. We've had companies do that, actually, help us with planning through this time, and how can we support the food system having professional level help that can work virtually to give us better ways to do things more efficiently that ultimately really benefits the end user, which is the people that are really trying to make ends meet and trying to put meals on the table.
Great, thanks, Shawn. We have a question from Kelly with the Star Tribune. She says food shelves and food banks elsewhere in the country have seen long lines of cars parked outside or waiting for assistance due to the surge in demand. Has that happened in Minnesota or other states' food shelves, food banks not seeing that kind of surge? Allison, do you want to start us off in responding to that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And thanks for the question, Kelly. This is something that we have our eyes firmly focused on as we are planning for the tidal wave of need to continue here in Minnesota. So we, of course, are a very honored member of the Feeding America network of 200 food banks across the country, and we're working with Feeding America on projections, and we're a few days away from that. But based on our huge spike in unemployment insurance applications and the existing need that we're seeing, double, often triple on the ground, we're looking at a huge need using their methodology. And so again, we're a few handful of days away from getting that, but we've done our homework to arrive at our budget that we're seeing right now. We've Feeding America calculated a massive national increase in hunger based on 3 challenges that they're seeing across the country, and we see them just as well here. Increased demand for charitable food. Sorry guys, my stand mix fell there for a minute. Sorry, Kelly. Increased demand for charitable foods as a result of the crisis. Declines in donations, we are certainly seeing that, and cost to purchase food required for food and non-food items, and then increased operating and distribution costs for food banks. We are having to supplement our labor for, we really heavily rely on volunteers as part of our labor force. So we're having to supplement that with our own teams in a different way. There's new distribution models that cost more, also in supply costs. And in Minnesota, we're seeing, again, that increased need with the food shelves reporting double or triple the demand. It's more expensive to source food because the donations are down. But we live in a really generous community here in Minnesota, and our donations have kept steady. We're very thankful for that, and we need them now more than ever. Our response effort is costing more than $500,000 every week. And so we need that help. We are ready to continue to respond. And if the community stands by us, we'll keep doing that the best we can, feeding hungry people, along with our wonderful partners in this. But Kelly, the bottom line is that we have our eyes peeled on every piece of information we can. We are adjusting and problem solving every minute of every day, and we're ready. And we stand by this community, ready to serve the community when there's need.
Thanks, Allison. I have another question from Jenna that is specifically to Cathy. So Shawn and Cathy, if you don't have anything to add to that sort of overall need response, I'll go ahead and ask Jenna's question.
I was just going to say, oops, go ahead.
I talked with Kelly yesterday, and I've been thinking about that because she wants to come out to one of our sites, which we really would like you to do that. And she was hoping to see a line, and we are trying not to have a line of people. And I've thought about it, Kelly, since we talked, and because we're in so many neighborhoods, we have so many locations that the response is in their backyard. So there isn't really a need for a line, and it really can trickle in. We did pop up a shop a couple of weeks ago in Crystal, where we had a couple of semis that were being deadheaded here. Second Harvest wasn't able to take them, and we needed to get rid of the food. It was very perishable. And so with Second Harvest and Loaves and Fishes, we popped up a market, if you will, and 4,500 cars in Crystal. And a lot of it was because the mayor tweeted it out, the church that we were at, Serenity Village, tweeted it out, and the cars just came. My hairdresser actually called me and said, we're sitting in a line of cars, and she showed me a FaceTime of how many cars there were. And the need was real, and they got great food put in their trunks, and that was just a couple weeks ago.
Thanks, Cathy. Shawn?
Yeah, I was just going to say there is lines, and I think part of that is a lot of us on the grocery end of things are doing what you call curbside deliveries, and that's to keep people safe. But it's also, there's a side of it, it's going very efficient because we've had the ability to do intakes more efficiently. So we're able to move people through pretty well. The other thing I've been really impressed with, twofold, just the collaboration that's happened. And certainly the food bank, Second Harvest, the food group, have been able to pivot really well. Particularly, I want to shout out to Second Harvest, who were in the middle of a warehouse move, and they successfully navigated that in the midst of this, which was no small feat. So really, shout out to you guys. But also local churches, they're not having their buildings being used right now, so they're opening up their doors to us to pivot and to do pop-ups. Places like Living Word Christian Center in Brooklyn Park, Emmanuel Christian Center have done several pop-ups with us, and that's been wonderful as we meet the need of the community. Trying to pulse the services as best we can. There is some lineup, but it does move quickly, and so it's really collaboration that I've seen. It's been wonderful, and it's been able to help us meet the community need when otherwise they might just go hungry.
Yeah, I think what Cathy and Shawn are highlighting too is the strength and the collaboration of the entire Hunger Relief Network here in Minnesota, and I should say Western Wisconsin as well. We work together, and especially in a time of great need like this, we are collaborating, and that infrastructure and those communication lines are strong. So we are all troubleshooting every minute of every day to make sure there aren't massive lines and that we are meeting people where they are. And that's our goal.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So from Jenna, Cathy, can you tell us more about the YMCA program that launched? What is it and how does it work?
Sure. So it is, we are operating on a to-go model. And the YMCA is open from all the YMCAs, well, I won't say all, 18 of them right now. We're rolling out the rest of them at the end of the week. They just walk up, drive up to the YMCA, depending on the location and the setup, and they're able to take away these amazing half pans of food that feeds 4 people, or a really fresh sandwich, and fresh fruit, a juice, some chips, or maybe a granola bar, depending on what's made at United Health Group kitchen that day. And then the menu changes every day. And we were telling people, please come back tomorrow. We'll be here Monday through Friday, 12 till 2. And, you know, take a couple of these boxes of food so you can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then come back and get another breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's how it works. Very simple and very safe.
Wonderful. That's it for questions this week. Thanks so much to attendees and panelists. I really appreciate the conversation.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.